And we are back once again.
Coming to you live from the HD Studio Dungeon. Horror Guys. I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And we're going to talk about some horror movies.
I'm still trying to figure out what an HG horror dungeon.
HG Studios.
Ah, okay.
Horror Guys.
Works for me.
Yeah, here in the deep, dank, dark dungeon.
Okay, before we get into this week's show, we've got some updates for you.
What do we got?
Some of our earliest podcasts, we reviewed Hereditary and Midsommar back when those came out. And we thoroughly hated both of them.
We didn't thoroughly hate both of them. We didn't thoroughly hate Midsommar. Even back then.
We didn't?
We did not hate Midsommar.
I did.
You hated Midsommar, and I was kind of, I liked it more than disliked it.
Well, this week we rewatched both of them. It's been a couple of years.
Hereditary, Midsommar.
Hereditary and Midsommar. Whenever you get on like Reddit or any of the Facebook posts about what's your favorite horror movie, somebody always says Midsommar and somebody always says Hereditary. And
What's
I'm
your
like,
scariest movie? What's your go-to horror
what the
movie?
hell is wrong with you people?
They're always on the comments that people pop up with.
So we thought we'd rewatch both of them and just see what we were missing. And
yeah.
My mind hasn't really changed.
Well, Hereditary is sure not a happy movie, is it? Boy, I mean, as far as just sheer downers of horror movies.
Bad thing after bad thing.
Yeah,
yes.
pile it on. But I still didn't really like it, love it. I adequately loved it. I'd still give it a 6, I think.
I appreciate them both more than I did the first time.
But
I don't
it
like
better
either
than the
of
first
them.
time. I would give it a 6. And like you said, I think probably the main point of Hereditary and Midsommar, the main character you did not like.
Both of them.
You didn't sympathize with the main characters.
Have mental illnesses. They are very unlikable people that do pretty horrible things throughout the movie.
It's hard to root for them.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And they're both Ari Aster movies, so I assume that's a him thing.
I don't know. Yeah, but I'd give Midsommar above a 5. I mean Hereditary. Above a 5. I think I liked it more than disliked it this time around. Still don't love it. But Midsommar, I'd give a solid 8. I still enjoyed that. I liked it more the second time.
I think I liked Hereditary more the second time.
Mm-hmm. Liked them both a little.
Once I actually knew what was happening, you could watch for certain things.
You could, yeah.
Most of our reviews here, we have watched, especially the newer movies, just once, and we do our reviews. So all our opinions are based on the single viewing. And some movies really do require more than one viewing to really understand them.
I think both of those
Which
movies do.
Isn't really fair to the viewer, I don't think.
That's what they expect, though.
Yeah. Well,
Good
luck.
Yeah.
Okay, so we both watched Hereditary and Midsommar, and although our opinions did not change too much, we both appreciate them a little more on a second viewing.
Yeah.
Years later.
And I still like Midsommar as a good movie. I like that one.
Yeah.
Solid 8 in my opinion.
I'd give them both a 5.
Okay.
Maybe a little less for Midsommar.
I
just did not see too much to Midsommar.
Like maybe a 5.1, just above the midline on Hereditary.
Okay. So there's our update where we get to eat crow, but not really because we didn't change our opinions too much.
Yeah.
What do we got this week?
We have Orphan from 2009, and then the sequel, which is very new, Orphan First Kill from this year. And we have the new one, Nope, from 2022, and a classic oldie from, 1973, The Creeping Flesh.
Cool.
Which has some of the big names.
I should point out that we still have copies of Orphan First Kill to give away.
We do. Digital codes, you can see that for free.
Yeah. Just send me an email at horrorguys.com. Let me know that you want the Orphan First Kill giveaway, and I'll send you the code.
Yeah.
And I believe they're through Redbox.
Easy to use.
If you've gotten one of our giveaways before, it's pretty much the same thing.
And you can watch them on any device, smart TVs, pads, phones. The Redbox app, you go through that, or the website, I believe. And they're very user friendly.
And of course, brought to you by Horror Bulletin Monthly, the monthly horror magazine with all our reviews, all the ones from the podcast, all the ones from the bonus episode, bonus emails, and all pretty much everything. The 12th issue is out now.
I thought this month's cover was especially cool.
That is a neat looking skull, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Collect them just for the covers. You don't even need to read the inside.
Mount them on your wall. Yeah.
Yeah. The more you buy, the more we'll have.
Well, yeah, that's always true.
Okay, and of course, go to horrorguys.com to read all our podcasting type reviews and horrorbulletin.com to get the bonus reviews once a week in your mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's up first?
Well, we got Orphan from 2009. And we're going to sound the spoiler horn, so to speak, on this one. It is 2009, so, we are going to spoil the heck out of it without hesitation because it's not new.
Also,
but if you haven't seen it, you should before it is spoiled.
Yeah, there's some twists involved. So Orphan, you want to watch first. We both liked it. We both recommend it. Thumbs up.
And you're warned that after you listen, we're going to give it away.
Even more so before the second movie, Orphan First Kill.
Yes.
You need to watch the first movie.
Orphan First Kill is a prequel.
Yes, it is a prequel, but
don't watch it first.
No.
Yeah, if you haven't seen either, watch Orphan, then watch Orphan First Kill.
We both really liked Orphan a lot, and Orphan First Kill, I'm less enthusiastic about.
Not quite as much, but it was interesting how they were able to do it because the girl is older. They used the same actress.
Yeah, she was, what was she, 9 or 10 in the first movie?
She really
and in
was
her 20s
a child
in the second movie.
She really was a child playing a child in the first one, and then later she's
walking around on her knees a lot.
It's 13 years older, and she got taller, but they pull it off. They do manage to with camera tricks and makeup and various things, platform shoes sometimes, or forced perspectives. So yeah, I thought that part of it was almost the most impressive.
Yeah, strong thumbs up on Orphan 2009. Weak thumbs up on Orphan First Kill from 2022. Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe you want to fast forward onto the movie, the short film for the week, if you haven't seen either of them. Orphan 2009, directed by Jamie Collett Sarah, written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick and Alan Mace, stars Vera Farmiga,
Alex Mace,
Peter Sarsgaard, and Isabel Furman. 2 hours and 3 minutes. Kind of a long one.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler free. What happens?
Does adoption in movies ever have a happy ending? Well, not in horror movies, and not here either. It's probably not a spoiler knowing that going into this. And the main child actress in this role is amazing because she really was playing her own age, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the supporting kids are good. Story unfolds nicely, and overall, it's very well done.
Yeah, definitely liked it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now here we go with the spoiler part. Kate and John walk into the emergency room. She's about to give birth. It looks really painful, and there's a bunch of blood. The doctors are not very nice about the dead baby inside her. John's there with his video camera recording the removal. They pull out a mummified, screaming dead thing. And then Kate wakes up. Yes, she lost her baby, but it probably wasn't really that terrifying.
Yeah, this is a horrific nightmare of it. But yeah, she did genuinely
but
lose
it happened.
Her baby, so she's got the scar and she's dealing with the grief and the trauma.
Yes. She talks to Dr. Browning, her psychiatrist, about adopting. Kate already has a small daughter, Max, who is deaf, and a son, Daniel, who is just annoying. They go to St. Marian's Home for Girls to adopt another one. John finds a girl named Esther who is really good at painting, but doesn't get along very well with the other kids. Sister Abigail says that the family that brought Esther to America died in a fire. And 3 weeks later, Esther goes home with them.
And I didn't know, I mean, are any adoption agencies like that where you go like it's a kennel and you pick out, I like that one. She's cute. Are any of them like that? Because it's such an arduous process, I hear, adopting a baby. There's a lot of screening and a lot of paperwork and weights involved. And don't you say, I want to adopt, and then they match you up with?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you go in like you said, like a kennel and say, I want that one.
That's kind of what this was, yeah.
And I'm also sure you don't walk out with a kid in just 3 weeks.
That was a very fast process.
Yeah. Well, pretty much immediately, Daniel gets jealous of the attention Esther is getting on her first day. He and his friends go up in their treehouse and look at porno books. As teenagers do.
Yes, they do.
Esther wears frilly, old-fashioned looking dresses, and she definitely stands out. Little Bo Peep comments are made at school. We see several examples that show us that Esther is a weird kid.
She likes to be well-dressed and fashionable.
For some reason, John and Kate decide to have sex in the kitchen one night, and Esther catches them in the act.
Yeah, and we kept saying, don't do that. Don't do that in the kitchen. The kids are going to wake up or come down or see you or something. And yeah, sure enough.
Adjustments have to be made when you have 3 kids.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out Esther understands more about the act she saw than she should at her age. At the park, a neighbor woman flirts with John, but Esther only has eyes for Brenda, her nemesis from school. Max watches as Esther pushes Brenda off a big slide and breaks her leg. Later, Max tries to defend Esther. Daniel still doesn't like Esther, and he makes that abundantly clear. Kate starts teaching Esther to play the piano, but she already knows how. There are lies, half-truths, and innuendo. Sister Abigail comes for a visit, and she thinks there may be something wrong with Esther. She's done more research, and accidental injuries seem to follow Esther around. Again with the orphanage. Wouldn't they have her full history?
Boy, it sure seems like it.
Well, the house fire that killed her previous family...
It's a plot device here.
Yeah, was an unsolved arson. Naturally, Esther is listening to all of this, and John takes Esther's side, but Kate isn't so sure anymore. Esther finds John's pistol locked in the gun safe. She and Max wait at the bridge. Esther says they're going to scare Sister Abigail. Yep, she looks scared to me. The plan is to have Max wave the car down, but when the time comes, Esther gives her a shove out into the road.
Gives him a shove.
Yeah. Abigail swerves and spins out into the shoulder, and when she gets out to check on Max, Esther whacks the old nun with a hammer. The 2 girls pull her off the road and finish the job. Well, Esther does the work while Max watches horrified. Daniel watches the 2 girls leave the treehouse, and later that night, Esther puts a knife to his throat and swears him to secrecy. Kate takes Esther to Dr. Browning for an evaluation, and the doctor falls for everything Esther says. Kate gets a call. One of the nuns wants to know what happened to Sister Abigail. She never came home yesterday. They soon find her car and mutilated body.
Oops.
Kate starts Googling children who kill. John thinks Kate is losing her mind. Kate tries to find some history on Esther, but the orphanage she was in back in Russia doesn't know anything about her. Esther doesn't want to go to the dentist. John tells Esther to do something nice for Kate, but that goes badly.
Yeah, very badly.
Later, Esther breaks her own arm in a vise and goes crying to John. It looks like Kate broke her arm in anger. Kate, who is a recovering alcoholic, buys 2 bottles of wine, but then dumps them in the sink. She changes her mind. John finds the unopened bottle and assumes that Kate drank. Dr. Browning, the world's worst psychiatrist, takes John and Esther's side of the story. This guy is such a bozo.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Daniel and Max are both terrified of Esther, but they regularly cover for her out of fear.
Yeah, because she has threatened them.
Max tells Daniel about the evidence stashed in the treehouse, but Esther overhears it all. Esther drops all pretense of being normal when she reads Kate's diary. Later, Kate reads Esther's Bible from the Saarn Institute. Turns out, Saarn isn't an orphanage. It's a mental hospital.
Uh-oh.
Esther sets the treehouse and the evidence on fire, with Daniel inside. He jumps out, but before Esther can finish him off, Max intervenes. Daniel winds up in the hospital with internal injuries, and Esther sneaks away and smothers Daniel in his hospital bed. The hospital people then sedate Kate, so John takes Esther and Max home. Daniel may pull through after all. That night, John drinks quite a bit while Esther cuts up one of Kate's dresses. Uh-oh. She looks like a 10-year-old Russian hooker as she comes on to John, kissing him all over. You know, there are a lot of 10-year-old Russian hookers out there.
Well,
You know one when you see one, though.
She tarts herself up pretty good, the dress and the heavy makeup, and yeah.
You said you loved me, she whines. He's not that drunk, so he explains how he loves Kate. John finally realizes that Kate may have been right. In the hospital, Kate gets a call from the Saarn Institute, and the doctor tells her to get her family away from the little girl, who is actually a grown woman.
Spoiler.
She has a rare hormonal disorder with proportional dwarfism. She's 33 years old.
And I kind of put that together before the
You
reveal.
did, yes.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll bet
There
she's
was-
not really
There
a
were
kid.
some things that kind of were adding up there. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it coming, but it's not absolutely given away early.
Mm-hmm.
Kate leaves the hospital and rushes home in the snowstorm. She calls 911 and sends the police to the house. Meanwhile, Esther stabs John a half dozen times, and he's not going to recover from that. Max watches the whole thing and then hides. Kate arrives, but by this point, Esther has Dad's gun out again. Esther, Kate, and Max play tag in the greenhouse.
Diddly tag.
Kate ends up jumping through the roof and squashing Esther like a bug. They run off to the woods instead of the road for some reason as they hear the police coming. You know, you hear the police coming, you're going to run out into the forest instead of run into the police cars.
That was so weird. Yeah.
The police do not find Esther's body. Shocker. Esther attacks Kate in the woods, and they crawl out onto the frozen pond. Esther has the upper hand with a knife, and Max picks up the dropped gun and aims for Esther, but shoots the ice instead. They both fall through the ice, and Esther stabs Kate. Kate kicks Esther in the face, and she drowns under the ice. Or at least it looks that way.
Dead forever.
Well, we're never going to see her again.
Well, actually we do. But-
Isabel Furman, the actress who plays Esther, was actually only 10 years old when this was made. Considering that, she was really good here.
Yes.
Kevin theorized early on that Esther was a full-grown woman in disguise pretending to be a child. He was basically right, and one hint after another supported him. This is actually pretty long, and may have one or two plot lines that it really didn't need to have, but we were entertained throughout.
Yeah, we were.
Very liked it. Very liked it, yes.
Very, very liked it.
Was
yes.
good, yes, good, yes.
Me
Very
liked,
good.
Me liked.
Me liked,
You
yes.
liked.
All right, then 13 years later, they make a prequel, Orphan, First Kill, 2022.
The sequel prequel.
Directed by William Brent Bell, written by David Coggeshall, David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, and Alex Mace. Stars Isabel Furman, Julia Stiles, and Rosie Sutherland. Hour and 39 minutes.
Trailer in the show notes.
Spoiler free. This is a prequel to Orphan, but it's vital that you see Orphan before this movie. If you don't, it'll ruin it for you.
Yeah, because they give away right away that she's in the institution and she's an adult.
Yeah. So much for spoiler free, hey?
Well, we know that from we just talked about Orphan, where she's
Yeah,
an
yeah.
adult. You know,
Okay.
you learn that at the beginning of Orphan First Kill. That's not a surprise now because that was revealed in the first movie. But there's more that's revealed.
Yeah, there's always more.
Yeah.
Okay, that said, this one was good like the first movie was. Isabel Furman is actually 23 here, and they went to great effort to give the illusion that she's still a preteen girl. She's like actually a year younger in this movie, I think. She's still excellent in the role, and the supporting cast is good. The script is entertaining. If you like the first one, you should definitely see this one too. All right, so Orphan First Kill is now in theaters and on digital and on demand. Isabel Furman returns as Esther in this terrifying prequel to the original and shocking horror hit. Also stars Julia Stiles. Buy or rent Orphan First Kill and watch it today. Rated R from Paramount Pictures. They make us say that for the giveaways.
And we did.
Yeah. Email at horrorguys.com and we will give you a giveaway.
We will.
We still have some left as long as while supplies last.
Yes, yes. And so we're going to go into the full spoilerness? Or?
As spoilery as this one goes, I don't remember.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to, we should not go heavy on it.
Okay.
But the full spoilerish is in the website, the full text on the website. And okay.
What happens?
In Estonia, 2007, at the Sarin Institute for the Mentally Insane.
So that would make her like 8 at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, supposedly.
A 23-year-old playing an 8-year-old.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is something, yeah. But they pull it off, I thought. Yeah. And but if you know, you can catch them doing it. There's things that like, oh yeah, that was a forced perspective, or there is one shot that really does look like she's on her knees next to one of the actors. And,
If you're watching it, you can see it.
If you're watching, you can
Yeah.
tell. But
It takes a little suspension of disbelief here.
But I thought they did a nice job with it. Yeah. Anna, an art instructor, arrives for her first day. And what a first day it is. Wow. The orderly tells the doctor that Lena is not in her room. Well, they set off the red alert and order lockdowns. She's their most dangerous patient. The doctor locks Anna into a safe room for protection. Except Anna finds a little girl hiding in the room with her. The girl says her name is Lena. And then the doctor comes back in and they carry her away. And the doctor explains that Lena is no child. She's a grown woman of age 31 with an unusual medical condition that has delayed her growth and aging.
Which is why you want to see the first movie first, because that's kind of a big spoiler and a twist in the first movie, and here they just tell you right away.
Mm-hmm. So we're spoiling it by not spoiling it?
Oh, well.
Well.
It's not a spoiler for the second movie.
Yeah. He warns to never trust her. She's an accomplished con artist. The previous family that took her in all died. One of the security guards likes Lena and buys her a dress. She lures him into her cell, kills him, and escapes. Anna quits on the spot and later finds Lena in the trunk of her car. It goes poorly for Anna.
So at first we were like, that guard's a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
Then wait, no, he's not.
Well, that's how you can be a pedophile and not be a pedophile at the same time.
That's kind of twisted.
It's kind of messed up. Yeah. Yeah. Lena does a Google search for missing children and finds one that resembles her, Esther Albright. And she finds a policeman, tells her that she was kidnapped from America and her name is Esther. Back in America, Tricia and Alan Albright watch their son Gunnar at a fencing match. They talk about how Esther's not coming back. Detective Donnan arrives, and Tricia thinks they found the body after 4 long years. Instead, they are called to Russia to pick up their long-lost daughter.
Oh, happy day. Yay, 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 she's back.
Yeah. Since it's been so long, Tricia can't tell that it's not her real daughter. They fly back to America and meet the family. Nobody asks her about her Russian accent. Although
she would have been like 5 or 6, and she spent 4 years in Russia. The Russian accent really isn't that surprising.
I think it is mentioned and pushed aside for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting because she was so good at impersonating a child in Orphan. And here you can see how clumsy she is at it at first. She's learning how to impersonate a child, which I thought was cool because she makes little mistakes and screw-ups and says the wrong thing sometimes and gets angry at herself over it. But I thought that was cool how they did that in the script.
Well, that she doesn't know the kid that she's pretending to be.
True.
She's trying
to
impersonate a specific kid.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the next morning they go to see Dr. Digar, a therapist with a parrot. Alan is an artist, and he shows Esther how to put a hidden layer into his paintings. She draws him with charcoal, and we can see that she likes him. Esther finds the diary of the real Esther hidden in the bed, and hides her own in there too, the Bible. She decides to rob the house and run away, but when she sees Alan painting, she changes her mind and goes back. She's kind of in love.
Hello, Daddy.
Yeah, sicko. Yeah. Later, she watches from the shadows as Alan and Tricia have sex. Alan and Tricia go to a big party, leaving Gunnar to watch over Esther. He then throws a party of his own for friends in the backyard. Esther wants to join the party, but he's not cooperative.
It's a grown-up party.
Yeah. Detective Donan stops by and searches Esther's room, taking a vinyl record, probably to check for fingerprints. Esther watches and follows. Sneaks in his car again. She's good at that. Tricia comes home, looks through Esther's book that mentions the Sarn Institute. Elsewhere, Detective Donan checks out Lena's fingerprints. They don't match Esther's. But before he can tell anyone else, he gets a surprise visit from Esther.
And then
Esther.
he gets a second
and
surprise
then he gets a
visitor.
second surprise visitor. And then things get surprising from that.
And that's probably where we should stop.
Yeah, because I did not see that coming.
I did not see that coming.
And you won't see that coming either. Yeah.
All right, well, they go to great lengths to make the now completely grown-up Isabel Furman look like a child. She was 10 years old for real in the first film, and 23 here. There are lots of shots of a little girl from behind, and what appears to be the actress standing or walking on her knees in others. It's done as well as it can be, but if you're looking for it, it's really obvious, almost to the point of distraction.
Well, it's because we were looking for it so hard.
Like, I know how they did that scene. Oh, yeah, look at that.
Oh, look how they did that. Oh, look at the camera angle. That's clever.
Now, you see, like in The Hobbit, it was all very subtle, and you couldn't really see the tricks.
It was a lot more subtle.
I think it was a little less well done here.
A little more obvious.
The first half of the film is pretty much exactly what you'd expect, but eventually things turn on a dime. We had Gunnar pegged as Esther's murderer fairly early, But there was a whole lot more to it that we didn't get.
Yeah, we figured the real Esther was dead, maybe.
Yeah.
But we didn't know, and yeah, you don't know.
Okay, anyway, I'm going to skip the rest of this commentary because it's got more spoilery stuff in it.
Uh-huh.
We liked it.
We did, yeah. Thumbs up overall.
Yeah.
And then speaking of another thumbs up, we liked a short film called Spare Body that was released next year from 2021, directed by Ethan Hunt and also written by Ethan Hunt and stars Ethan Hunt. This was an Ethan Hunt
You think
production.
Ethan had anything to do with it?
I think he did, yeah. Runtime was 9 minutes, 44 seconds that is, and it's free to watch on YouTube. We recommend it. What happened?
We see this print on the side of a box. Delivery from Spare, S-P-A-R-E. Second lives now possible. Do not open until necessary. While searching for some extra money, a teenager discovers the shocking truth behind what his parents have been hiding, and soon finds out about its beyond sinister intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ethan Hunt wrote, directed, and starred in this, and it's all very well done. His camera work, sound design, music, and visuals are all excellent. His acting could probably use a little work, but he gets the job done. Overall, we both liked it quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah. And, of course, there's a link in the show notes to just watch this one. It's about less than 10 minutes, and it's definitely worth your time.
Creepy horror with just a hint of science fiction to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of creepy horror.
The Creeping Flesh.
Wow. Classic
we led
from
right into that.
1973.
Directed by Freddie Francis, written by Peter Spenceley and John Rumbold, stars Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and Lorna Helbron. Runtime is 1 hour and 32 minutes, and there's a trailer on YouTube.
Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. How could you go wrong with that? We're about to find out.
Well, this one is a little iffy.
Yeah, it's not the worst. I don't know. Maybe it is the worst pairing of those two. It's kind of bad.
I don't know. I'd have to see all the pairings lined up.
Yeah, I'd need to see a list.
It's not the best work. It was entertaining. Well,
it wasn't terrible.
The spoiler-free judgment zone says there is creeping flesh here, but that's about it as far as the monster goes. He gives us the finger,
Literally,
but then he doesn't show up until the end of the movie, where he wants it back.
It's kind of a lame monster.
So it's kind of a build. Well, I mean, those two actors are. It's hard to dislike them.
Yeah,
they're always so masterful, but this wasn't. Yeah. It lacks greatness.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
You want to spoil this one for us?
Sure. A man picks a picture. Let me start that again. A man paints a picture of a reptilian humanoid-looking monster as the credits roll. That's actually a very cool painting.
It is.
Yeah. Dr. Emmanuel Hildern is interviewing a new assistant. He asks whether the doctor believes in evil as an entity, a disease that spreads over the whole world. He believes that evil can be cured like any other disease. And the old doctor shows his notes to the new guy and explains all the story that began 3 years ago.
Flashback.
Mm-hmm. So the whole thing, basically.
Really, the whole movie is the flashback.
Yeah, except for the beginning and the end. Yeah.
Which was pretty much unnecessary, but okay.
Well,
I guess it's good to see where he ended up afterwards.
Yeah. He had just returned from New Guinea, and he brought back a special skeleton that he thought would revolutionize the study of mankind's evolution. He greets his daughter, Penelope. Waterlow is there as well, his assistant, his right-hand man, and is ready to conclude his own final experiment. The workmen carry in a large crate holding the special skeleton. Well, Emmanuel and Waterlow open the box, and it is a big skeleton with a huge skull. It's not a normal human skeleton at all.
Yeah, clearly not human, yes.
Bigger and kind of monstrous. And yeah. Emmanuel explains that the large brain cavity indicates that this creature was smarter than we are, and it's older than the Neanderthals. But it's more advanced. Somehow these beings had vanished from the earth, though. Well, Penelope, poor girl, says she had to let 2 of the servants go since they're out of money. Now they're only down to 2 servants.
Oh, no. It's 2 servants.
Oh, roughing it.
Poor people.
Yeah. Emmanuel thinks his latest discovery will turn that around. Well, Emmanuel opens a letter from his brother. His wife and Penelope's mother has passed away in his absence. We see the letter came from the insane asylum that his brother runs. And Brother James mentions that Penelope has believed that her mother was dead for years, not institutionalized. Turns out that both brothers will be competing for the same scientific prize. And James has decided not to finance any more of Emmanuel's lunatic expeditions. And we're told that one patient, Lenny, has escaped.
All right, two brothers competing for a science award. One knows that the other one's wife has been institutionalized for decades, where the daughter doesn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot going on.
And they're in competition, and so we have set up the story. Emmanuel goes to clean up the dirty old skeleton, and he notices where it gets wet that skin starts to generate. It's flesh, and it's creeping.
Ooh.
Emmanuel cuts off the fully regenerated finger and watches it wiggle on the table. Back at the asylum, James goes into the cells to figure out how Lenny escaped. He's not happy about that. And when one of the prisoners gets the upper hand on him, James shoots the man in the back several times. Lenny is still at large. There's a manhunt out in the woods.
This is a great hospital.
Yeah. Well, it's a brutal old lunatic hospital. Old style.
You go in with no guards, and when the prisoners get a little violent, you just kill them.
Shoot them. Yeah, that's great. Great way to run it. Jeez. Next morning, Waterlow goes into the lab and almost washes the skeleton before Emmanuel stops him. Penelope tricks Waterlow into leaving her the keys to the house, which includes her mother's room, which has been declared off limits to her. So she's going to go snooping.
Go into any room in the house except for this one.
Except for Mom's room. Yep, and she does. Well, Emmanuel reads old legends about the evil one, and this skeleton may well be him. The skeleton wasn't supposed to be exposed to rain for another 3,000 years. They dug it up prematurely. And somehow he thinks this knowledge will abolish all evil. That's a little hazy.
This whole little section here doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, somehow, yeah. Well, he takes some blood cells from the finger, and they are still alive. He mixes some of his own blood in with it, and it makes a protective skin around each of the cells. So, therefore, he thinks that it's an inoculation against evil itself.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And he decides to inject a monkey with the creature's blood to see what will happen. Meanwhile, upstairs, Penelope explores her mother's forbidden room and finds out that her mother was committed to the asylum and did not die, and has not been dead for decades. Emmanuel catches catches Penelope in her mother's room, and she is not happy about this, not happy about being misled, not at all. We get a flashback to young Emmanuel and Madeline. We soon see that Madeline wasn't insane. She was just a slut. Somehow, her promiscuity eventually did drive her insane, though.
And it's strongly implied that she was, very slutty and that drove her crazy. Too much sex.
Too much sex will be bad for you, or possibly syphilis. But
that was my suggestion. I don't know that they even hinted at that in the movie.
I don't think they did, but yeah, but I think it's the moral lesson of if you're that slutty, it's going to drive you mad. Yeah, moral lesson or something.
Sex crazed.
Yeah. Well, they dragged her out to the asylum where she died just recently. And Emmanuel fears that Penelope may follow in her footsteps. That's why he's keeping her so locked down and chaste and doesn't let her leave the house.
Slutty daughter.
It could be genetic. So, yeah, don't let her leave the house or anything. No friends, no boyfriends. And so what does he do? He gives her the barely tested anti-evil inoculation.
Good idea.
Because it didn't kill the monkey immediately, so hey, it must be safe.
Well, he just gave the monkey the inoculation hours before.
Oh, yeah, and the monkey didn't drop dead, so yeah, okay, we'll give it to our daughter. What? That's some bad science. Well, meanwhile, Crazy Lenny makes it to town and attacks people in the bar.
Oh, yeah, he's in this too.
Well, the next morning, bad news, the monkey broke out of his cage and died. Penelope is gone. And she now has hair like her mother. I don't think her hair actually changed. She just let it down.
Okay.
She'd gone all wild now. No longer restrained.
She looks different, though.
Yeah. And she's wearing makeup.
Yeah,
and dressed differently. She's gone full slut.
Yep.
Emmanuel drives all over town looking for her, but she's in a bar flirting with rich men. One man takes her upstairs and tries to take her dress off and more. She claws him, and the man leaves. She goes downstairs and dances like a madwoman. When a sailor gets carried away, she cuts his throat and runs off.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a bad girl now. Penelope runs from the bar with a dozen angry sailors in pursuit. She hides in a warehouse, the same warehouse where Lenny is also hiding. She pushes him off the ledge and into the crowd below. The police finally show up and capture Penelope, and they take her to the asylum. At the asylum, James complains that he can't experiment on normal beings. So his research into insanity isn't progressing. He's only got these crazy people to experiment on. They just won't let it. The crime of this, they won't let him experiment on normal people.
It's okay to experiment on the crazy people, but not normal ones.
Times were different back then. Well, James looks at Penelope's blood and realizes there's something strange going on there. James takes her home to Emmanuel's house in chains because she's still acting crazy. James waits in Emmanuel's lab and notices the creature's blood is the same as Penelope's blood. He reads the lab notes as well. He figures out what's been going on, demands to work with Emmanuel on his project. James threatens blackmail, so Emmanuel has few choices. Well, that night, James sends a goon to break in and steal the skeleton. Waterlow interrupts the robbery and is murdered by the goon. The man takes the skeleton out to James's carriage, but he drags the hand through a puddle. Oops, and we know what water does. Emmanuel notices that thunderstorms are approaching as well. He hops on a horse and pursues James. Well, the driver is kind of awful, and the carriage tips over in the rain.
He's driving like a maniac through the rainstorm, and there's really no hurry. There was no reason to be driving like that.
So he wipes out, and it's not long before the wet skeleton starts regenerating and moving. It's fully fleshed out now.
The flesh is creeping.
Yeah. James runs to the asylum for assistance while Emmanuel finds the carriage and the creature. He runs home in a panic. Penelope wakes up and kills the maid who has the keys. She's just bad now.
So much for that inoculation against evil.
Nope, didn't work. Meanwhile, the creature shuffles ominously toward the house.
If you thought The Walking Dead were slow, this thing is something else.
Mm-hmm. Well, Penelope unlocks the door and lets it inside. It appears to want its finger back, but Emmanuel burned it up. Emmanuel eventually opens the door, lets it into his room. It may have some form of mind control. It seems like it does. Well, he takes his middle finger to replace its own. Outside, James picks up Penelope and then goes inside to find Emmanuel crying over the mess he made. Back in the present, flashback over, Emmanuel tells the new doctor all this. Well, it turns out the new doctor is one of the workers at the asylum, which is where Emmanuel is committed. He's a patient. And he's not even really James's brother. And the woman in the next cell isn't really his daughter. Hopeless case, I'm afraid, James says on the way out. And we see that Emmanuel is indeed missing a finger, though.
Was it true, or was it not true?
And there is a little bit of, But it's probably just a crazy guy.
Probably.
Made up the whole thing.
The stop motion of the creeping flesh regrowing was pretty good for 1973, but that amputated finger didn't really look like a finger, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was a mighty big finger.
And it wiggled and...
You know the actors had some fun with that finger between the shootings.
Yes.
Despite the majority of the cast and crew being former Hammer people, this was not a Hammer film. It's got a pretty violent, although not explicit, rape scene, which was pretty explicit for the time. James's assistant says, "It all sounds like nonsense to me." And he's definitely got a point. The science here is fantasy at best.
Bad science.
The little twist at the end isn't a huge surprise, but does make you rethink everything that went on. It's all right, but it's definitely not one of the era's best.
It's good. I give it a solid 7, I think.
I think the bad science really hurts 7. This one. It's just so nonsense. The whole thing is just nonsensical.
Yeah, and the fact that he's a brilliant, competent doctor and scientist and thinks that injecting his daughter with this stuff is a good idea.
Yeah, what? Hours after injecting a monkey and not waiting.
No. Yeah. Nope.
Which takes us to our big-budget recent movie. Directed and written by Jordan Peele, Nope from 2022. Stars Daniel Kaluuya, K.K. Palmer, and Brandon Perea. 2 hours and 10 minutes. Trailer in the show notes if you've never heard of this one. but I bet you have.
I bet you have. It's gotten a lot of word on a lot of press.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler-free speaking, it's a slow burn, it's surreal, it's unsettling, and kind of low-key horror. There are those who rave about Jordan Peele's work, including this movie. It does have cool effects, a good story, a strong cast, but the horror guys have a split opinion. Kevin ended up not hating it. That's me. Warming to it more as it went along, but would give it about a 6. Brian thought much less of it.
The more I think about this movie, the less I like it.
See, and I'm the opposite. The more I think about it, the more I do like it. And I kind of revise, at the time that this was written up, a 6. I'm leaning toward an 8, and I'd like to see it again.
See, now I don't know. My problem is I didn't like any of the characters. The main guy, OJ, he's just sullen and grumpy throughout the entire film. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be doing any of this stuff.
Well, there's reasons, though.
Yeah. And the sister, Emerald, she's all perky and happy and makes every stupid decision in the book. She's just dumb.
She's impulsive.
Stephen Yeun's character is kind of interesting, but
yes, I thought
he's not actually in it that much.
Surprisingly little.
Yeah. All right, so I will cut this one off partway through, not to spoil it too much. We start out in the beginning at a TV station, and something has gone terribly wrong, where there's a TV show with a monkey, and only the monkey is left alive. What's that got to do with this rest of the stuff? Well, we'll see.
We find out.
At the horse ranch, O.J. Haywood talks to his father, Otis Sr. Suddenly, random stuff starts falling from the sky. Is it hail? Rocks? Nope.
Nope.
Otis gets hit by a falling thing, and O.J. rushes into the hospital. X-rays show that Otis has a nickel embedded in his skull, and he dies. Also, there's a key and a keychain stuck in the back of the horse. Credits roll.
And that's explained later, too.
Yes, it is. 6 months pass, and O.J. is now horse wrangling for a Hollywood project. His sister Emerald is way better with people than he is, and she's really into all the Hollywood stuff, but O.J. looks pretty unimpressed with everything. Things go badly at their, I guess it's a job, it's not an audition.
Yeah, it's an actual job.
But they're soon unemployed from their gig.
Yeah, one of the horses misbehaves, and the production decides to go with camels.
Because he doesn't know what he's doing, and Emerald doesn't care. She's off doing her own. She's off networking while he's being uninterested.
He was kind of apathetic about it. And there was the horse got a little too rambunctious, and the crew and cast and everybody freaked out. Plus, they were a little down on, like, oh, it's OJ. Like, they were expecting, the one guy, I don't think even realized that Otis Sr. had died.
Yeah.
He's,
this is the second third or fourth generation of horse wranglers.
Their dad was a legend in Hollywood who had worked for tons of movies and westerns and everything, horse wrangling. And they seem a little disappointed right off the bat that OJ is there. And then it doesn't go smoothly. And never mind.
Next, they go to a western theme park. They're there to sell Lucky the horse to Ricky Jupe Park, a former child star. Emerald is more interested in talking about old movies and memorabilia rather than business. Ricky talks about working on the TV show Gordy's World with a trained monkey. It turns out one of the chimps snapped and wrecked the show. It's kind of a legend now. The whole story was even a sketch on SNL. Turns out Ricky wants to buy their whole ranch. OJ wants to keep the ranch, but Emerald would prefer cash. They talk about old times and notice that one of their horses is out when it shouldn't be. The horse runs off, and OJ goes looking for it. The power starts fluctuating, and OJ thinks he might have seen something in the sky. It's a UFO. Emerald wants to get pictures of the UFO to sell to websites for cash. They go and buy some video equipment, and Angel, the guy who comes out to install the camera, is really into UFOs, ancient aliens, and conspiracy stuff.
Yeah, he was funny.
That night, OJ runs into something strange in the barn. He nopes right out of there as the things crawl all around the barn in the dark. Turns out it's just several kids in costumes and masked. I paused the movie at this point, and when Kevin saw how much time was left in the film, he groaned out, "Oh my God." And he wasn't alone at this thought.
It did seem long at that point.
Yeah,
it seemed like
really nothing had happened at this point.
Yeah, it's a slow burn. Yeah.
A little later, things get strange again. There is something in the clouds. We see that there's some kind of flying saucer up there. Angel shows up the next day. Turns out he hacked in and he was watching their cameras last night. There's a cloud in the sky that doesn't move. Ever. That cloud may have been in that same spot for the past 6 months. OJ thinks it may be a ship inside that cloud. Well, then we flash back to the old Gordy TV show that went so badly. We don't see much, but the ape goes berserk just as we were told. Little Ricky, a child at the time, hides under a table as Gordy beats his TV mother and father to death. Eventually...
Well, I don't think to death, because we see her later.
That was the sister. The sister was mauled badly and deformed.
Survived.
The parents were...
okay.
The whole TV crew seemed to be gone. Like they either ran out or...
They noped right out of there.
It went really badly.
Yeah.
Eventually, though, Gordy the monkey had his head blown off.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, where is security? Why is nobody taking care of this? But eventually, yeah.
Well, I can see why you might not have a gun on a TV set to shoot, your cast members that are misbehaving. But
yeah,
yes, somebody messed up badly there.
Yes.
Well, Ricky Park gives a sparsely attended show. He's dressed like a cowboy and tells a story about seeing a flying saucer. He calls them the viewers. Behind the show, one of the clouds starts getting frisky. We don't see it, but they all do. Then something abducts the entire audience, Ricky and the staff from the People, about 40 people altogether.
Uh-huh.
The entire amusement park goes poof. OJ comes to the park, but the place is completely deserted. He finds the horse he came for, but all the people are gone, even Ricky and his wife. He does see the flying saucer as it lands right in front of him. OJ calls Emerald an angel and says, "It ate them all! It's territorial, and it thinks this is home." Well, the thing then stops above the farmhouse. Emerald and Angel hear screams coming from above. Blood and miscellaneous junk starts falling from the sky. OJ parks his car directly under it and listens to the sound it makes. He picks up everyone, and they go to Angel's house. Antlers Holst, the famous director, shows up to film everything. He wants to use a horse as bait to get the sky creature to come after it. But they have to hurry. 40 people disappearing tends to attract investigators.
Mm-hmm.
And OJ thinks the thing may be wrangled just like a horse does. All right, and I suppose we probably should stop there. How's it work out? Not well.
Nope.
All right, well, the first half hour... Okay, here's my commentary. Kevin may disagree a bit at this point.
He harshes on it.
The first half hour, this was like a, 8-hour movie? How long was this? The first half hour, boring, pretentious stuff that Hollywood people just eat up, and the rest of us kind of tolerate. It's a bunch of Hollywood jokes about Hollywood.
It's meta.
Second half hour, same thing, only with a couple of hazy saucers in the clouds between boring crap. The third half hour, interesting stuff starts to happen, but we actually get to see very little of it. We're told a lot of these things. The fourth half hour, stuff happens at this point, but I was kind of too bored and excited to get too sleepy to get too excited over it. Okay, so anyway, the flying saucer turns out to be alive. It's not a spaceship. It eats people and it poops out jewelry and trinkets that it can't digest. The creature design toward the end was very unique, and I did like that. But for most of the film, it just looks like a flying saucer. Overall, I found it really boring. Do I regret watching it? Nope. I mean, yeah, I do, actually. It's 2.5 hours I'll never get back. Then Kevin pipes in and says he ended up finding it interesting and watchable, more so as it went along, and I will agree it gets better as it goes along.
And more so after I think about it after I saw it too.
Okay. Kevin liked it more than disliked it. He's still baffled over the gushing adoration that Jordan Peele gets for his directing work, though. See, he did Get Out.
He did Get Out, and
which I did like, but I'm not going to gush over it. He did Us, which I think I liked more than most people did. Most people look at that and say it was stupid.
Yeah,
I didn't hate it at all.
No, I thought that was maybe the most interesting of the three.
Yeah. I think all three of them are somewhat overrated. I think he gets a lot of credit for African American stars, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But the movies aren't that great. I think this is the worst of the three.
Yeah, the adoration is, just
He
seems
can do no
out of
wrong in
proportion.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, like M. Night Shyamalan, he had a couple of big hits, and he could do no wrong, and every movie afterward has gotten worse and worse. Well,
not worse,
generally
worse, but,
speaking.
yeah.
Too much credit for the directors is never good for the audience.
Yeah, a lot, sometimes, yeah.
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 Yeah, I liked Get Out. I liked Us quite a bit also.
And
This one I did not like.
I liked it.
It was boring.
It
It was just boring. I think that is really the most descriptive word I can give is boring.
harsh.
It took an awful long time for still not a lot to happen.
Did take a long time. Yeah. It's a slow movie.
Literally, the only thing the news would report is those 40 people disappearing. Nothing else of interest happens.
Mm-hmm. And for 40 people disappearing, there certainly wasn't a descent upon the area of, like law enforcement.
Well, I assume it was like a matter of hours that from that to the end of the movie. Otherwise, it would have been crawling with people.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some there at the end, some reporters at the end.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is our show for this week. Next week we'll have 4 more full-length movies and a short. Hopefully, some of them will be better than this week. Well, Orphan and Orphan First Kill were both good.
Mm-hmm.
I give a very strong thumbs down to Nope, and a pretty strong thumbs down to Creeping Flesh also. Where do you stand on these 4?
I don't give anything a thumbs down. I liked the first Orphan the best.
Me too.
And the Orphan First Kill's second best.
Me too.
And the Creeping Flesh and Nope, I'd give, I liked more than disliked. I'd still give them a thumbs up.
The Creeping Flesh was well done. It was fun to watch, but it was dumb.
The science was so bad.
Yeah. And Nope, I'm going to stick with boring.
Okay.
All right.
You're allowed.
Well, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.